All right, today the Doctor's In with Dr. Greg Sherr. I am here with a very honored guest. We have Sam Bregman. Thank you so much for coming on and talking, frankly, about some hot topics like medicine.
Doc, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Our show is kind of fun. We have a kind of a broad mix of folks, and sometimes we get callers that call in and they have health problems. You know, I'm a brain surgeon, and I think the very first call was like about prostate surgery. So I made up some stuff, and it's been fun ever since.
I'll try not to make up anything.
The second show we did were a lot of ED questions for some reason. Yeah. We're not really sure why.
Oh, my gosh. What have I walked into?
Yeah. So if you got any health issues, Sam, we can vet those right now. I may not know the answer, but prostate health is my specialty now, I guess.
Well, I'm 62. I'm always thinking about my prostate.
Wise man.
That's right.
I've got a joke I'll tell you off the air about that.
Okay.
Wait, so we're definitely not filming this thing.
No, we're definitely not.
All right. So there are so many topics, but I think I'm going to start with the sort of the fun one, which is I think you and I have some things in common. I own a horse farm, and you own a horse farm, and I think we're actually probably darn near neighbors. What do you got for horses?
Oh, well, there's two different types. Ever since I've been 18 years old, I have loved roping horses, cutting horses, done all that. I'm really just got a couple of ranch horses right now here in New Mexico. The family, on the other hand, owns a bunch of race horses, mostly Alex,
right.
the ball player. He can afford that.
That's a good place to waste your money, I can tell you. I have a good anecdote for this. This is going to make you laugh. But so where does he keep those, or he's just invested in them? Or?
No, he keeps them all over the country. In fact, he's got a lot of different folks who help him, obviously, and train those horses and raise those horses. But everywhere from Florida to New York, he runs them. In California, he runs them. Kentucky, obviously, he runs them. So, yeah, in fact, We've had a horse named Governor Sam who's been in the Breeders' Cup the last 2 years.
Support. There you go. Yeah. Well, let me tell you a funny story about that. So my wife breeds them, does a horse rescue, and we had a pretty big farm in Florida near Ocala.
Yep.
And so we moved out here and bought a place in Harris, and it's only about a year and a half. So we're building. We have a beautiful, huge property, but we live in a double wide. So that's a true New Mexico
absolutely
outlook for me.
He's building his 8,000 square foot barn before the house.
That is actually true.
It's true.
So I'm going to fit right in. Anyway, but she had a connection when we were in Florida with the racehorse community in Miami. And so we knew one of the big trainers in Miami. And so we have several horses that used to be a year before $1.5 million purchase. They run for 1 year and they're worth nothing, and we got them for free.
Oh,
and she rehabs
happens
them.
a lot.
Yeah, and so our practice down there, our barn down there was resuscitating these old racehorses, get them to run in anything but a quarter mile in a corner.
Yes,
and let kids ride them, and so. These kids would come over and they'd be riding $1.5 million horse.
That's awesome. Horses are so special. I could go on and on about horses. I love them.
So have your son send me all the rejects after a year and we'll resuscitate them.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind.
So it is a contentious time between lawyers and doctors. Again, I'm really thrilled that you decided to come on. I have some friends in this business who have grilled you before. Dr. Nate Roybal says hi, and Gamma and those folks that are trying to figure out how to support, the medical malpractice efforts. So I think just from my perspective, so I'm growing a pretty large program. There hasn't really been many neurosurgeons in the state, and frankly, one of the reasons is it's pretty hostile from a lawyer point of view. So we've been able to recruit. We now have 6 of us, and we're probably going to have a few more. But there's fear, both on the patient side and also in the surgeons that want to stay here, of the medical malpractice situation. So I guess my first question is, should we be fearful? Should we be fearful about the next administration? Is there some common ground we can find that reassures frankly, the doctors and the patients? And I know it's a contentious issue, but what are your thoughts on it?
Well, first of all, everybody hates a lawyer until they need one.
I need many of them.
No, and I understand that sentiment. I really do. I think, the legislature just took an important first step, right? They just did some things. I think the governor, from everything I hear, is either going to sign it or has already signed that medical malpractice bill. I think it's an important first step, but I think there are so many more things, and time will tell whether or not, for example, that reduces medical malpractice premiums. Insurance companies, we should all look at them with a jaded eye, quite frankly. I've dealt with a lot of them through
we have something in common.
Through my career. Insurance companies, we'll see whether or not those rates actually come down or not based on this. But I think it's something that deserves the debate, and I think we'll see where that goes. But I think there's so many more things we can also do to retain and recruit doctors. And there is no doubt about it that every state wants more doctors. We're the only state in the union that's losing doctors.
Right.
And so obviously the ability for you and others to recruit and retain is so important for us, because we desperately need not just doctors, but overall healthcare providers. We're down 6,000 nurses is what I'm told.
Right, yeah.
That's an extreme issue. And so I do think that the great thing that has taken place here in the last several months, but really in the last year of really these discussions going on, is we've now developed a sense of urgency and an understanding. I think the entire
that's a medical term. Look at that.
Well,
that's not a legal term. That's a medical.
I don't know where I got that. It's probably been talking to so many of you doctors out on the campaign trail.
We are.
But
we are speaking our language. I like it.
But there does need to be a sense of urgency, and I think the community has a sense of urgency. Yeah. And listen, I have a mom who lives in Albuquerque who's going to turn 88 years old next month. I'm sorry, Mom, I've outed you on how old you are, but here's the deal. She has to wait 4 months for a doctor's appointment?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But my next appointment is October of 2027.
See, and look, I can go on and on about insurance companies requiring, the primary to refer somebody, even though the specialist doctor says that we should this person needs this test, and yet insurance companies have to get to say whether or not that test is actually necessary or not. I think we should empower our doctors in every way, shape, and form, but we do need to recruit and retain them. We need to do away with gross receipts tax when it comes to medical services.
Interesting.
We're only one of two states.
Us and Hawaii.
Yeah, that's it.
Yep.
We're the only two states that charge tax on medical services. That's just, it doesn't make any sense.
That should be a simple one.
Think about it. And you know this better than I do. You know your economies in the medical field better than I do. But if you work in Texas, you're paying 8% less tax right off the bat than if you do the same thing here in New Mexico. Why would you come here? There's that. There's tax credits, and I think the legislature addressed some of that this time. I'm not sure if all the dust is settled on that. I don't know for sure. But giving a tax credit for medical malpractice premiums, we should absolutely be giving as big a tax credit as we can for any doctor, any medical professional, if you will, willing to practice in a rural area. Our rural health in the state is really a challenge. Obviously, we need to increase the number of residents we have in the state, pay them more. All of those kinds of things I'm all for. The idea, and we all know how much debt doctors come out of medical school with.
Yep.
Every year you practice in the state of New Mexico, we should be reducing a year of your medical school debt.
All right, he's hired.
No, but
I told you he's got common sense.
But why wouldn't we? And it's, yes, people tell me, well, you're treating doctors so special, but the fact is we need doctors, and we've got to make this the most attractive place that it can be.
Oh, hold on, Aaron.
Let's do this. Let's take a break real quick. We'll come back and we'll pick this up from there.
All right.
Sound good?
Is that the part where we argue, or we're going to talk about horses some more?
Whatever you want to do.
Or baseball.
Your show. Or baseball.
Baseball.
Yeah.
All right. The KKOB, and unfortunately this is taped for us, but we would take your calls on our next Saturday visit. So we're here with Sam Bregman, and we're talking politics and medicine, and it's a very important discussion. We'll see you soon. Doctor's in, and we're here with Sam Bregman, our candidate for governor, actually, and I'm honored to have you on the show. Our little show is growing. I think it's the most popular one on the weekends now, which is kind of fun. I didn't think people cared about doctors that much, but now we have a highfalutin lawyer. I'm going to switch gears, actually, for a second, because I'm kind of curious about your career. Why what the heck is it like to be a DA? And you did that for years, right?
No, not for years. I've been a lawyer for years. I've been a lawyer. I was a DA when I first got out of law school for 5 years. It was a great job. I got to do justice, if you will, every single day. I got to make a difference in our community. Then I went into private practice, had a successful private practice. Back 3 years ago, in January of 2023, the governor appointed me to fill the current Attorney General's term out. When he was district attorney, he ran for Attorney General, won. There was 2 years left on the term. She appointed me to that job, and I'm very grateful to the governor for that. And then I ran
again,
and I ran and won, and now we've made a big difference over at the DA's office. You know, I'm not by any means taking all the credit. The people at my office deserve a tremendous amount of credit, and law enforcement deserves a tremendous amount of credit. But believe it or not, the crime is starting to get better in New Mexico. Violent crime is down now. Juveniles with guns is a different story. That's still going the wrong direction. But being a DA has been an absolute best. I work with some really great people at the DA's office, both lawyers and support staff and special agents, and it's a great thing because every day you're making a difference in people's lives, whether or not you're helping support survivors or victims, whether or not you're holding bad guys accountable and putting them away because they shouldn't be out in the community. Those things are important, and I've been able to do that, and we've had some success, and I want to continue that at the state level.
All right, so I got a hard question for you. I got a she's just turned 16-year-old, and she's tough. She's the horse girl. She wrangles the horses, right?
Yeah.
So her mom and I said, you can go to vet school. She says, nope, I want to be a homicide detective.
Well, God bless her.
Yeah.
Being a vet is, you want her to go to vet school.
Well,
I think that's an amazing career, too, and it's so desperately needed. Talk about a shortage of doctors. We have a shortage of veterinarians in this state, both large and small animals, especially large animals. Veterinarians.
Do you know Lane Dixon out in Terrace?
I know of him. I don't know him.
He's our local guy, but yeah, he's overwhelmed. Yeah.
Yeah, no, they are overwhelmed. But being a homicide detective is an amazing job too, and it's a really, really hard job. And God bless every cop out there.
Yeah, I actually had one in my clinic today, and we were talking about it. And he said, when I went into it, it was a different outlook than now. Your own safety is more of a concern than it ever used to be before. He's trying to talk me out of it. So I tried to talk her into becoming a DA like you, and I don't know if I had any success with her. But can you talk about maybe a case that you had? I don't know if you can talk about cases, but something where you felt that you made a big difference, a single case where there was the effort of being a DA, which I think is a thankless job, is it not?
Yeah. Well, no, it's not a thankless job. There are a lot of people that recognize what we do, and you actually, when you get to put someone who's extremely violent, who has hurt people, away from the community, and you get to convict them of a crime, and let the jury convict them of a crime, that it's a good feeling that you have really made a difference in your community. So all the time, I will tell you I'm unusual in the sense that as a DA, I've prosecuted cases myself, not just been.
That's awesome.
We have 120 some lawyers in our office right now, and I have actually prosecuted some, and one of them was this is horrific, but one of them was a second grade teacher who was raping second graders in the closet of the classroom, and he's doing 57 years in the state prison. So
wow.
I know. So you deal with such heartache and such trouble, and we've recently dealt with a tragedy ourselves in the DA's office. But I will tell you, overall, it's a very rewarding career, and we have a great attitude. I think we have a great work environment, and people are happy to be working there. So it's exciting in that sense.
What do you think, as a gubernatorial candidate right now, just kind of looking at the state, and obviously Albuquerque being the primary population center, I know that a bill just kind of went through the legislature. There we go. That kind of dealt with people that can't really take care of themselves. Mm-hmm. I know back in the Reagan era, he kind of killed like sanitariums. And what do you think New Mexico needs? I mean, because obviously there's a big mental health crisis with people on the streets. Just kind of talk about mental health right now and your thoughts on it in New Mexico.
I actually think it's key to getting a hold of our crime problem in the state of New Mexico. our behavior health, whether or not it's mental health, straight mental health, or whether or not it's addiction recovery services, and the homeless issue that we have, and the property crime that's going on there, I think coordinating our behavior health efforts is the single most important thing we can do, probably, when it comes to fixing the revolving door that people talk about.
Right.
People get arrested for smoking open air fentanyl smoking in the streets of Albuquerque. They get arrested and they're back out the next day looking for their next pill to smoke. And we're not getting them coordinated. When a social worker walks up to a homeless encampment and that person may have hit rock bottom and says, okay, I'm ready to get help, that social worker should have an iPad in their hand to be able to go onto the Department of Health with a real-time dashboard knowing exactly where every bed available to help people is in the state of New Mexico. It is not there. And we have the technology. We have so many good people working in these fields, but there's no coordination.
Right.
There's no understanding. You know what? We've got 2 beds down the street. Get in this van right now. I'm going to take you 2 blocks over because they have a bed there and they take Medicaid. And if you're not on Medicaid, we can get you signed up for it. I mean, these are simple, basic things, because if you want to attack, for example, the fentanyl problem, and I'm the chairman of the Organized Crime Commission, I do know a little bit about this, the cartels and the drug problem. If you want to attack that, you got to do it twofold. You got to go after the supply, meaning the drug traffickers and the POSs that are willing to put that poison on the street. Right. You go after them, hold them completely accountable, but then you also have to go after the demand. They're going to keep bringing that drug in whatever way they can get it. If we don't stymie the demand and help the people who would never be in the criminal justice system if it were not for their addiction to drugs, we've got to get them help. We got to get them off this. And Doc, you'll probably agree with me, but as far as drugs go, I'm 62 years old. Fentanyl is the worst drug that's been on the street in the history of my lifetime, and there's nothing even close.
I tell this story. This is kind of interesting. So I'm a very busy neurosurgeon, and the biggest thing that I've done in the last 5 years in terms of volume is patients that are on the streets using dirty needles, and they put bacteria into their bloodstream. Where does it end up? It ends up in their spine, which it eats the bones away, and they fracture, and they can even end up with a spinal cord injury and be paralyzed. So the biggest demand on me, probably more so than any neurosurgeon in the country, is for the last 5 years, I do these gigantic reconstructions. I go in their spine, I take out the infection, I put in metal screws and rods. And sometimes it's a very meaningful interaction because I get this opportunity when they wake up from the surgery and they're able to stand up again, and I say to them, I sit down with them and I say, you're going to probably relapse. But this is the one chance I can detox you. You're in the hospital. I can get you. I fixed your back. You have the opportunity not to do this again. And about 7% of them actually succeed in that. And I'm proud of that 7%, right? But it all stopped about a year and a half ago. No more infected spines. And when I tell you I did a lot, I was in the 98th percentile of the country of people who did this reconstructive surgery. But now I'm getting called for brain death. And so what happened? Well, this is a strange story, but the best thing that could have happened for people with infected spines is they don't have to use infected needles anymore. It's all fentanyl pills. And so we've moved the problem from a recoverable issue with surgery and lots of hospitalization to death. And so some would argue that the length of stay and other indicators about these long, difficult patients and procedures has gone down. But at what cost? You take one fentanyl pill, you're 16 years old, and you never even had a chance. I don't know what's worse.
We have seen so much death,
right,
and so much destruction of just lives.
Every 10 days, I'd say, for a while. It's gotten a little bit better, I agree, but
Narcan's helped a little bit, saving people, but it is so addicting. People go from 0 to 110 miles an hour, and if you're living on the street, or if you're having a problem, and you've got mental health issues, all your worries go away when you smoke this pill for your 20 minutes. Yeah. But then the crash is just as bad, and so your brain tells you, and you're the doctor, but your brain tells you do whatever it takes to go get another one of those pills. And if that means shoplifting to get some money, whatever it means.
The zombies are out.
Yeah, people will do what they do. And it's just so unfortunate. We have got to get, to answer your earlier question, we have got to get a handle on our mental health, addiction recovery services, and have them coordinated. There are other states that do a better job of it. It's not about, and we should continue to spend all the resources we need to.
Can you talk a little bit about how that's funded? Is it underfunded? Is the legislator supporting the next steps with what your vision is there?
I will tell you, I think that the legislature has done a lot to support this. They have spent a lot of money. They have worked with the court systems. They have done this in a lot of ways. But I still think that if you are a nonprofit, and God bless our nonprofits who are out there working their tails off to help people. But if you're a nonprofit and basically you're getting money from the state, you should report every day your bed availability.
Yeah.
I've been in a courtroom in the morning where a judge has said to an addict, I wish I could get you help right now, but all the beds are full. And that afternoon, I've been in a clinic where there was 14 empty beds.
Wow.
So we're not coordinated.
Yeah. Well, on that note, this needs to be fixed.
Yep.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. 96.3 Doctors in KKOB, and we'll be right back with our special guest, Sam Bregman, candidate for governor. All right, we are back with Sam Bregman, candidate for governor. So honored to have you with us today, talking about the future and what needs to be done for the state. We need to switch back to, I think, some discussions about the future of healthcare in the state. I think I'm pleased that you and I both agree that recruitment and retaining of surgeons, frankly, like me and the people that we've just brought in, some of them are pretty nervous. They, this idea that we could be sued personally in our own assets and there's no caps and all that stuff drives a bit of fear. Specialists can go anywhere. They're in demand. How do you see the future of retaining some of these specialists in our healthcare system?
So I think that some of that on the caps and things like that just got addressed by the legislature.
Agreed.
I think that is there. We talked earlier in this show about the other ideas of eliminating gross receipts tax credits for medical malpractice premiums, reimbursement of medical school debt for every year you practice. But as you know, Doc, people who are starting up their practice, whether or not it be a primary or a specialty, I think we need to understand that they are oftentimes making a big life decision. Are they going to move to New Mexico?
Right.
Are they going to move to New Mexico with their young family? Is New Mexico a place they want to be? Well, it's tough when the headlines read and they can see for themselves that we're first in crime and 50th in education.
Correct.
If we can do a lot of things around the periphery to help, but if we don't fix our core issues, then doctors are not going to want to move their young families here.
Right.
And so we have to be working on all of these things. We have to be chewing gum and walking at the same time. And I really believe that that's important, that there are certain issues such as crime and education, healthcare, obviously, economic opportunity and development. We want to be a place where people want to come. We are losing population in this state overall.
Yeah.
That's not acceptable.
Yeah.
We should be growing. We have some of the most amazing natural resources. We have 4 mild seasons for the most part. We have the best food in the world, as far as
Yes,
I'm
we
concerned.
do.
You can tell by my belly.
Yes, we do.
have the best food in the world. But most importantly, we have the best people. We're hardworking people. We have so much brain power between Los Alamos, Sandia. We should be doing a hell of a lot better economically. And I think that takes leadership. And that's what I want to bring to the state. I want to see us thrive.
Well, I got my hands full in trying to do that, and let me give you a couple of talking points from my side of it, which is I have loved moving here. So I moved from Florida. By the way, there's a lot more lawyers and billboards down there. So I think if we're comparing it's slightly better. But this state has, from my perspective, a really fascinating, very inviting thing. So as you're making your way around and arguing with other doctors, I do more interesting surgery than most of my colleagues I graduated with. Now I'm in this about 20 years. And so the pathology that's here and that is exciting for us. So we see things, for example, we had a guy recently, his wife brought him in, and she said, he just keeps, it's this thing keeps growing out the side of his head, and, it's about the size of a football. And so she brings him into the clinic, and she's banging on it with her cane and the top of the guy's head. And you got to take this out. Well,
oh my God,
that's New Mexico. I think he's my neighbor out in Paris.
Oh my God.
And it is the size of a football. I kid you not, growing out the side of this guy's head.
Jeez.
But that is, as wacky as it sounds, it's sort of a metaphor. We get to see and do cases that on the East Coast you might see one of in your career. Dude, I've seen like 4 in the last year. The pathology is here, and maybe not for a good reason, which is that people ignore their health care. It's a very inviting place to take care of exotic problems, to take care of people that are desperately in need. There's an element of this whole thing that's neglect, and we get to be the heroes. And so in this state, being able to do what I was trained to do in the breadth and the depth of it is there. It's a satisfying place to do medicine, believe it or not, and surgery. Now, I have a different passion, and the guys here have heard me talk about it a million times. We have a major, last, significant public health care problem, and it's not talked about very much, and that's stroke. And so that's what I do. I take care of patients, and we build a program here and some infrastructure at Presbyterian Hospital where if you're having a stroke, we can now go in through an artery in your leg, put a catheter all the way up in the brain, has a corkscrew essentially on it. We go into the clot in the brain, and we pull it out. The patient wakes up, walks out of the hospital with no deficits.
They stop the stroke.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. To the point
That's
now.
Amazing.
It
It's
is
fantastic.
And I want you to be passionate about this because this is one of the few states that doesn't have a comprehensive stroke program that covers most of the state or even the larger urban areas. We are about 15 to 20 years behind in that, and it's a public health issue. So
how many doctors are working on this issue?
It's pretty rare. I don't want to throw some stones, but the university had a program and there was some infighting and it kind of failed, and so now we're trying to build that up. And I think they are also trying to rebuild it. But I envision a more comprehensive, let me give you an anecdote. If you have a heart attack out somewhere 50, 60 miles outside of Albuquerque, there's a small hospital somewhere that will probably take you in, do some tests, and figure out you're having a heart attack and either fly you or get you quickly to somewhere. If they don't have a cardiologist on staff that can do some of this catheter-based work, they can even do the same technology into the heart and pull the clot out that's causing the heart attack. But nobody knows what to do with a stroke. Same pathology. There's a clot that ended up in an artery that's killing the organ, right? So it's the same pathology. So there are some very creative things that can be done now. They have CAT scanners inside ambulances. We could have ambulances in various, you don't need many. They need to be able to sort of get from a peripheral city out to some rural area. But you could save these folks. Right now, they go home to their double wide and they either die from the stroke or they can never function again. Imagine the savings in nursing home beds that you could have if we could get them to us. And nowadays, the intervention's damn near 24 hours. So there's no reason we can't build a network or a system that takes care of stroke. We did it for heart attack.
I think it's a great idea.
How do we get? I want to get that in front.
How do we get that?
I'll write it. You champion. But I think the successful person for governor that champions saving these people from a lifetime of disability, we will have done something tremendous. And I think the last time that was dealt with was probably in the 90s when the network of people dealing with cardiac events was put in place. We could do it. They did it then. It's the same technology. It's a little bit more advanced.
Isn't that what government is for, though?
I would love it if you and I can solve this problem.
No, that is exactly, government is there to fill in and help with the issues of the day, and whether or not it's now this technology and modern medicine has gotten to a point now where it is so cool.
Yep.
All the developments and all the ways we can help people and save lives and save people from a miserable future because of the ailments they have. This is exciting stuff.
And we have it now. So we hired 2 neurosurgeons, Dr. Alvarez and Dr. Ernst, and they are young guys, very eager. They want to go out, build a network, recruit. We want to write grants. I can't imagine there isn't significant federal grants for rural stroke care. you will be my flippin' hero if we can get this under control. Because I think there's only Maine and Wyoming that doesn't have this in place. So it's low-lying fruit, and there should be money around to do it. I mean, I think it appeals to you.
Oh, it absolutely appeals to me, and really fixing our overall healthcare system. Yeah. We have such a fragile healthcare system in New Mexico, and don't even get me started talking about rural health, because rural health is, and if we don't, continue to solidify, for example, the ability for rural hospitals to do the things they do, not only is it going to put an undue burden on our emergency rooms and everywhere else here in the bigger cities, in Albuquerque, for example, but those hospitals and those medical practices are very much the economy in our smaller towns.
Well, right.
It's a huge.
I'd say even here in Albuquerque.
Yeah. Look at what medicine does for our economy alone right here, and that's why it's so important that we figure it out and get a heck of a lot better when it comes to having more healthcare professionals. And you know this as well as anybody, Doc. How many people have I heard or run into that said, I had to leave the state to get my medical care because we didn't have it here?
I mean, geez, Nicole Tobiasen. Yeah. She had to take her husband to Houston for his rehab. He got West Nile virus.
I'm working on it. I think Encompass is going to help us bring him back, but he's I guess she's okay talking about it because she's talked about it on the air. But he ended up with West Nile in his spinal fluid around the brain, and that can kill you or debilitate you pretty bad. And so he's been recovering there. He went to Cleveland Clinic and then down to Texas for rehab. But I think there's a chance we can bring him back here.
God
and so
bless them.
Yeah. So I'm just going to show you a quick example. So this is a tumor of blood vessels inside the brain. So
I'm being shown a picture from the doctor's phone. Wow. Okay.
So there's no names on that.
No, there isn't.
And that is the kind of thing that causes strokes, and it's called an AVM. And that is the kind of thing that we can go up inside the brain and take it out
and fix.
And I'll see if I can
mid-stroke.
Show you what it looks like.
Yeah. Like actually mid-stroke, they can stop it. It's phenomenal. The technology is crazy.
So it looks like a blob of blood vessels, but you see these things coming into those were arteries that were feeding it, and a clot, and
oh my gosh,
he's getting nauseous. Look at him.
No wonder. I've seen you know what I deal with.
Yeah,
I've seen a lot of bad pictures.
Let's take a break real quick. We'll come back and wrap it up.
Okay, we got our final session here. I'm really enjoying talking to Sam Bregman, our candidate for governor, and we're talking healthcare and horses. That's going to be the name
of this podcast.
Healthcare and horses. Healthcare and horses. Thank you so much for being on, and we're going to wrap up in just a minute with some final questions. So 96.3 News Radio, KKOB. All right, we're back with the doctors in. We are honored to have Sam Bregman, our candidate for governor, and we are having a great discussion about all kinds of stuff, especially the East Mountains. So off the top of my head, I'm just kind of curious. I did not realize that the Epstein Ranch was actually over near Moriarty. I thought somehow it was out in like Abiquiu or someplace.
Isn't it is it by Stanley?
It's up in Santa Fe County.
Oh, it's in Santa Fe County that way.
It's up that way.
What's the fallout of this whole thing? I mean,
listen, this is we're dealing in this state because of the fact that Epstein owned that Zorro Ranch, and because of all the things we're seeing released from when that file was released, that this guy is the most horrific, disgusting child sexual predator, trafficker. You can't have enough descriptive, terrible terms for this human being.
It is remarkable.
And I am thrilled that the legislature, the House, passed that resolution where they've started a truth commission, if you will. And I'm really thrilled with the Attorney General and the New Mexico Department of Justice, who is reopening an investigation. The next governor of this state is going to help direct and lead an investigation on one of the most prolific child sex trafficking individuals in the history of this country, because the people of New Mexico need transparency. They need to know what happened out there, as disgusting as it may be. They need to know what the truth is, and we need to find out, because that happened, or at least the allegations are much of it happened here in New Mexico, and that's only fair to the people that we figure it out and we hold people accountable if necessary, and the next governor needs to get that done.
I am curious about why he chose New Mexico. Was there something permissive about the state, or did he have connections, or like why here?
He was tied to Richardson, wasn't he?
I don't know about any. I can't. I'm not going to speculate or try and get in that guy's brain. And figure out why he did what he did. Let's just make sure we find out what the truth is and hold anybody and everybody accountable that needs to be held accountable.
I can tell you from the healthcare side of it, you only have to see a few of these cases. I think you've probably seen more of these child abuse cases, but I see brain injuries from kids that are thrown against a wall, and you can go on from there about the damage to kids. And it's a shame that happened in our state. I mean, I think that's New Mexico's not in the news that often, but when it comes to this, it's like people ask me, like, well, why'd you move there? Anyway, thank you for handling that. I think that's probably going to reveal a lot of strange details.
On a side note, my office, I'm very proud of the fact that we have done a lot when it comes to our special victims unit, holding people accountable. Our cold rape case unit has literally convicted 20 people of some sexual assaults that took place 3 decades ago.
Wow. Technology.
Yeah, technology, DNA, no doubt about it.
Will they get this Guthrie guy in Arizona?
I don't know. You're asking me to speculate.
That's a whole other idea,
and I don't know any of the facts what they're working
Aaron's
with out
got
there.
A question.
I've got a question for you. So, your opponent, your main opponent, Deb Haaland, I don't have a lot of confidence in her in general, from what I've seen as far as her as the, Secretary of Interior, watching the confirmation trials. I don't know that I've heard anything about her policies, like what she's bringing to the state as far as medicine, what we're going to do for the state. We've got a few minutes for you to kind of talk about this. How are you different from your opponent in has she even said anything about healthcare in the state of New Mexico and even like coherently talked about a plan?
Listen, Deb's a very nice person. I don't know what her plan is. I think most voters don't know what her plan is for healthcare or education or public safety or economic development and opportunity. I will tell you, I've really wanted people to know what my ideas for the future of New Mexico, how I want to solve some of the real challenges that we're facing. I have 189 pages of policy on a website encompassing 14 different policy areas. And it's one of the reasons why I've been so strong in asking for debates with Deb in the primary, because the people of New Mexico, we are talking about who is going to be the next executive to lead this state in one of the most challenging times this state's ever faced. And people deserve to know where we stand on these very important issues. And that's why I've been and if she doesn't have any policies, we can debate my policies. That's fine with me. I've laid them all out there. They're all public record. I think it's really important that people get to know where we stand on the various issues. It's why I've been so insistent on debates. Heck, I've run campaign commercials about debates because people deserve to know. How are we going to ask New Mexicans to go to the polls and make a decision on the very important decision of who's the next governor if you don't know where someone stands?
Right. And
that's what debates are all about. That's democracy at its most fundamental level, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just kind of curious. I think about this, and running a radio station like this, I'm privy to this stuff, but what the hell has she spent $8 million on if she hasn't come up with any policies? You're just handing out bumper stickers and T-shirts. What are we doing?
I can't speak to that. I'm not going to get involved in necessarily how she is or isn't spending her money. I will tell you, though, that people deserve at the end of the day to know where we stand on the issues. I don't think anybody can say I don't know where Sam stands on where I stand on things like crime or public safety or housing or affordability or doctors. I've laid it very out. I've got specific ideas to retain and recruit more doctors. It's a really, really important issue this state's facing. We have got to have a sense of urgency about putting more doctors in this state.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, I almost want to end it on that because that sounded pretty emphatic.
It is emphatic. I mean it.
But good. You and I have so much in common. All right, we're going to go ride horses and get to the end of this, the bottom of all these issues. I think I'd like to just a couple of simple questions. As we kind of wrap up the discussion, which I've enjoyed very much. If you're a governor in 2029, what does a successful New Mexico healthcare system look like?
Well, affordability, accessibility, right? Someone where I mentioned it earlier, a place where my mom, who's 88 years old, doesn't have to wait 4 months for a doctor's appointment.
Right.
A place where, in my mind, and I really, this is kind of a little bit off topic, but not completely, where if a specialist...
Is he going to talk about his prostate?
No.
Okay.
If a specialist says you need to go have a prostate or test on something like that you don't have an insurance company going, no, we're not going to do that regardless of what the specialist says.
That is my biggest problem in getting patients into surgery. The delays they feel are months long.
No,
yeah.
Why do you... Are we going to trust our doctors?
Yeah.
Why are we second-guessing our doctors on the most basic things like, this is an important test that you need to go take so I know what I'm dealing with as a doctor?
Let me just add one thing to that, which is, so when I have a patient that has like 3 or 4 herniated discs, the insurance company calls me up and they say, well, we like disc 1 and 2, but number 3 we're not so sure about. And so no, this is a true. This is every single day of my life, okay? And I'm like, well, hey, I've been doing it for 20 years. The guy needs 3 discs taken care of, and they're like, pick 2.
Unbelievable.
So, and that's what I do. I have to, because I have to get the patient some relief. So I will pick the 2 worst ones, and then that patient will come back for an additional second surgery 6 months later. And tell me how that saves money.
I don't even know how it saves money, but how is that right?
It's not. I think the thought is that there'll be attrition. In other words, the patient will get so frustrated and they'll get partial relief that they won't, and then somehow they'll
just give up.
And I don't. That doesn't look like good healthcare to me.
It's not. And so, just to kind of fully answer your question, I think a sense of urgency and getting things done when it comes to recruiting and retaining. We have more doctors. We have more nurses. Good. Listen, we've spent most of this show talking about recruiting doctors. So important. But nurses are also so important. And nurses need to be paid adequately. Look, if you go people leave being a nurse here to go become a travel nurse, then end up back here getting paid travel nurse wages.
That's what I was going to say. Exactly.
What are we doing?
We got about 40% travelers staffing our hospital. That's amazing.
That doesn't make any sense.
At what rate, too? I mean, the hospital bears that burden. I mean, you hire a local nurse that you're going to pay $80,000 to, but you have a locum nurse come in, they're going to be making $140,000, $150,000.
I suspect it comes down to not having to pay the overhead of healthcare and benefits. That somehow there's a savings in that, but that has to go away. And I have a different perspective on it, which is I want a nurse that lives here, that there's continuity. She is always there in my operating room year after year after year, knows how I do things, and we grow efficiencies. And that's how quality and excellence happens. If you look around, there are no centers of excellence in this state. Maybe the heart hospital, maybe. But I want a place that rivals like the Mayo or Barrow in Arizona. And it's not a crazy idea. And the reason is we have a trapped population of 2.5 million people that they're coming in the door. We don't have to go search for patients, but we have to get the quality and the excellence to a high level.
And that's what we all need to work for. That's just amazing. And I'm glad to hear that out of you, Doc.
Well, this has been a pleasure. Sam Bregman, I think I got to find the right horse, and we're going to go.
We
doctors
can go
and lawyers riding together.
We can go be degenerates together at the racetrack anytime you like. I look forward to it.
Very good.
I can pick a winner.
Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Maybe if you're willing, sometime later in the race, we'd like to have you back on and see if you want to change any of your opinions on things.
No. I'm pretty consistent, and I feel fairly strongly on this. But I'm always willing to be educated. If somebody has a better idea, I'm all ears.
All right. Just don't forget you're going to help me build this stroke program, and we got a deal.
You got it. All right. Sounds good.
All right. KKOB 96.3. This has been The Doctor's In with Governor candidate Sam Bregman. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you.